With us now, veteran Democratic strategist and consultant Simon Rosenberg and CNN political commentator and Democratic strategist Maria Cardona. Nancy Pelosi chooses her words carefully, Maria. And you know what Nancy Pelosi didn't say just there? I want President Biden to run.
You also heard Nancy Pelosi saying, I think, something that is really, really important. And that is that when the president is on the world stage, as he is this week, that not just Democrats, but Americans should all close ranks behind him because it is too important in terms of what we're facing on a global scale. Now, in terms of what she said about President Biden's campaign, she is right. It is up to President Biden. And in terms of what he has decided to stay. He wrote the letter to all of the members of Congress where he makes it very clear that he is going to stay. And so I think she said what she said because, as you know, there are still Democratic lawmakers that are concerned. And as one of the strongest leaders and most well-respected leaders in Congress, she doesn't want to be seen as shutting everybody up and telling them to swallow their concerns. She is somebody who has been very effective because she is all about consensus. She is all about making sure that everyone's concerns are aired. What she said today is, let's not air them in front of the world stage, because frankly, every time that happens, the way that Senator Bennett did, and with all due respect to the senator, what he says and how he says it does not help President Biden. And in fact, it is a huge help for Donald Trump, especially as we are heading into this election.
The former speaker knows that President Biden wrote the letter, Simon, and she did not say, I'm super psyched that he wrote that letter. I'm super psyched he's staying in. She basically made it sound like he hasn't decided yet and needs to, correct?
Well, I want to be clear about a few things. I'm 100% behind Joe Biden. I think that the Democratic Party is very much supporting Joe Biden's presidential run, and we've got to keep our heads down and keep doing the work here. We can't lose weeks of time in this campaign. This is going to be a very close election, and I know the polls have slipped a little bit, but we're still in a very close and competitive election. And I think what Nancy was saying, and I don't want to speak for the speaker, the former speaker. I think, though, what is my advice to Biden world is to recognize that they should be worried not so much about the defections of House members or senators, but there is concern in the public and inside our own coalition about his capacity to serve, not just in the next few months, but over the next 4 years. And I think the campaign has to recognize that we're in a new place. We've fallen back a few points. The election's gotten a little bit harder for us. The president's going to have to work harder. And they're going to need to make it very clear to us in the coming days what their plan is for victory in a far more adversarial set of circumstances for us. I still think we can win this election. I think Donald Trump's the worst candidate that we've ever seen. I think there's been one guy who had a bad debate performance and then disappeared for 12 days, and that wasn't our guy. Our guy was out there busting his ass, being president, campaigning in the battlegrounds, while this other guy was off playing golf and taking it easy. I mean, if there was any evidence of the vigor that we needed to see from Joe Biden, we've seen it in the last few weeks. But the election's gotten harder for us now, and I think the Biden world would be wise to do more to try to assuage the concerns instead of telling everybody that it's time to move on.
Simon, just very quickly, let me follow up here. As someone who says he's 100% behind Joe Biden and wants Joe Biden to stay in, were you happy that former Speaker Pelosi phrased it like that? Do you wish she'd just come out and said that, yay, Joe Biden?
Yeah. John, we're having a debate, right? Debates are healthy. We're in a democracy. Debate, deliberation is the hallmark of a democracy. And that's part of what I'm getting at, is that there is a chunk of our party that is deeply concerned, wants Joe Biden to step aside. I mean, this is not just a few random folks. This is millions and millions of Democrats are concerned. They want to win, and they have concerns about Joe Biden's candidacy right now. The president, rather than dismissing them, should be addressing them head on. The campaign needs to take this on because we need everybody on board. We can't leave anybody behind. If we're going to win this election, our coalition has to be 100% committed to Joe Biden. And there is a part of our coalition right now that is wavering, and we've got to do more to bring them along instead of dismissing their legitimate concerns about not what he's done over the last 3.5 years, but what he can do over the next 4 years. That's what's in front of us now. It's not just a referendum on his successful presidency. He has been successful. The country's far better off. What we're going to be voting on is whether he can do the job for the next 4 years. And I think there are legitimate and serious concerns about that need to be more forcefully addressed by the president and his campaign.
All right, following that reasoning, Maria, how should the president address this, and how much or much not does it involve a teleprompter?
There's no better way for the president to show that he is up for the vigor of the campaign and for the next 4 years than to continue to do his job and to continue to campaign the way that he has been. As Simon said, he has been out in the battleground states. John, he has been doing rallies, yes, with teleprompters, but he's also been talking to voters. And you know what the campaign is hearing from grassroots voters, John? They are hearing that they are backing him. They are backing him 100%. They are not happy with these national Democrats that are out there trying to get the president to step aside after he has gained and he had 14 million voters vote for him during the nominating process. He has a vast majority of delegates that are committed to him and are focused on trying to get him elected. A lot of these grassroots Democrats are in the swing states. You have Latino voters, you have black voters, women voters who are super concerned about their reproductive rights. All of those voters, John, have said time and again to me, to the Latino leaders that are out there, the black leaders that are out there, the grassroots leaders that are out there going door to door, that they will take Joe Biden on his worst day instead of somebody like Donald Trump, who will impose an imperial presidency and try to take away all of our rights and freedoms, because that's the choice in front of us. That's what they're focused on. And at the end of the day, the Democratic Party has got to come together if we want to beat Donald Trump in November.
Maria Cardona, Simon Rosenberg, thanks for being here this morning. Appreciate it.